I'm going to look at the rules for multiplying and adding mixed fractions. So first we will take 2 2/3 and we will add 1 1/4. In a moment we will multiply these. So when it comes to adding mixed fractions, you can add the whole number part and the fraction part separately and put them together at the end and carry over any whole number if you happen to generate an improper fraction while adding these fractions. So we can not think about the 2 and the 1 for a moment and just focus on the 2/3 and the 1/4. So remember, to add fractions you need common denominators. We need these denominators to be the same. Right now we have a 3 and a 4. So we need to see what number do they both go into. So if we look at the larger of the two and think about multiples of it until we get to a number that this also goes into, you can usually have success finding the smallest one that's possible. So in this case I would think of 4, 3 doesn't go into 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 3 does not go into 8, and obviously 3 times 4, 3 will go into it because I used the 3. So I didn't find any smaller than just multiplying them together. So I need my denominators to each be 12. So starting with 2/3, what can I multiply 2/3 by to get 12? I'm going to multiply it by 1, so I'm not breaking any rules. This is the multiplicative identity. You can times anything by 1 and it will stay the same, but its form will be different so that we can put it together with other forms that are compatible. What times 3 is 12? That's 4. We already thought about that once. So this is a 1, so that means it's 4 over 4. In other words, we times both the top and the bottom by the same number we used to change for our target. We wanted that to be a 12. So 2 times 4 is 8. So we have 8/12. 2/3 became 8/12. Now we have 1/4, and it's going to change. We will multiply 4 by 3 to get 12. So 3 over 3 is our 1. That's our multiplying by 1. That's called the multiplicative identity. So we're not breaking any rules. We're not changing 1/4 into anything different, but it has a different form. But it will be equivalent. 1 times 3 is 3. 3/12 is the same thing as 1/4. 8/12 is the same thing as 2/3. But now we can add these together. So I'll just show the forms. We have 2 and 8/12 plus 1 and 3/12. So 2 plus 1 is 3, and 12 is going to be our denominator. We do not change, we do not add these together. If we have 8/12 and we add 3/12, all together we have 11/12. 8 plus 3 is 11. Add the top. Once the bottoms match, leave it the same. So there is our answer. If we did a problem where I had, say, 4 and 16/15, for example. Well, 16 is larger than 15. This is an improper fraction. So 15 goes into 16 once. So that generates a whole number that can combine with this 4. So this becomes a 5. And what's left over? Well, 15 goes into 16 once with 1 remaining. So there would be turning, it's almost like spillage. Our fraction was too large, and so we were able to bring out a whole number. So that's how we would simplify a result like that. Multiplying mixed fractions is much easier. It's much more straightforward. So first we don't need a common denominator, but we cannot multiply mixed fractions. We need to make these into improper fractions first. We do that by multiplying our denominator by our whole number and then add our numerator. So, or you could look at it as you could make a 2, I guess, as a common denominator with a 3 and add those together. This is just a quick, simple way to do it. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now we've turned our mixed fractions into improper fractions. And to multiply, we can just multiply the top to the top and the bottom to the bottom. Numerator to the numerator, denominator times denominator. 3 times 4 is 12, 8 times 5 is 40. Now, this is an improper fraction and it's not simplified. There is a common factor that goes into each of these, so we can divide each of these by a 4. 4 times 3 is 12, so if I divide by 4 I get a 3. And 4 times 10 is 40, so if I divide by 4 I'm left with a 10. So 10/3 is still improper, so we're going to make it mixed. 3 goes into 10 3 times, so that's our whole number. And there is 1 remaining, that becomes our numerator. So 10/3 becomes 3 1/3. So we can go back and forth from a improper fraction to a mixed fraction. I think it's easier to go from mixed to improper, and you can do that to check, to make sure you didn't make a mistake. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, and that works. So there is multiplying and adding mixed fractions.